Test, test, test. Oh, oh, oh. Woo! All right. What the fuck is up, my little cats and kittens? And welcome to another episode of the OVER Sharra Podcast. I don't know why I just did that. Welcome to another episode of the OVER Sharra Podcast. I am your host, Sharra Coley, and I'm going to be doing what I do best, oversharing about whatever the fuck I want to. Because here on my podcast, the OVER Sharra Podcast, we believe that oversharing is caring. So let's fucking get into it. Let's go! All right, y'all, it's fucking Friday, so whatever the day of the week it is that you're listening to this, happy day to you, but specifically to me right now. Happy fucking Friday. I don't know what it is about a Friday, but it just always carries like really good energy, you know? Like even when Fridays didn't really mean that much to me because I used to work in retail, so I always had to work on the weekends, like Friday just carries an energy. And if you don't believe in that, then I don't know what to tell you. Your life seems boring. Believe in the energy of the day. My day started out too with excuse me, that really fucking got me there. My day started out with going to the coffee shop to get more espresso beans and myself a latte. And when I was walking up, I noticed that I kind of interrupted the barista's like small joy moment, and I acknowledged it. And so I just think I want to start this day with that. If you ever notice that you are interrupting somebody's small joy of a day, so like I walked up to the coffee shop, the barista had walked outside with a pack of cigarettes and their coffee, and I was like, God damn it, I'm interrupting your small joy. Your cigarette and coffee. And so whenever we got inside, I was like, I'm so sorry that I interrupted that moment for you because it's more THC and caffeine for me, but I know what a pleasure it is to enjoy something simple like that. A cup of coffee and a cigarette, a cup of coffee and a joint, a cup of coffee and a fucking bowl of weed. Hell yeah, brother. And so I just acknowledged that I apologized, that I stole that moment from them in that moment. So yeah, if you've ever stolen a moment from someone, let karma be on your side. Acknowledge it. Let that human know that you see them and that you acknowledge it and that you also appreciate small moments if you happen to share them in common, because it was a fun little bonding moment. I go there, all the time, and he and I think his girlfriend, wife, whoever this person is to him, she was also there. And I was like, oh, they were going to smoke a little cig together and have a little cup of joe. I'm so sorry. Anyway, that's how my day started. So I've also just been in like a really weird mood. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I am just in a really fucking weird mood. I get the human zoomies. I live alone, so I have 3 cats. So they probably are like, this fucking lady is insane. Sometimes I'll just sing and dance with and or for them because otherwise I'm just doing it alone. But I wake up and I'm in just like really fucking weird moods, and that's today. So giddy up. I always say that, giddy up. I've actually never even ridden a horse. I should do that sometime so that I can really say giddy up. Cowboy. Anyhow, so I'm in a chipper good mood today. It's the holidays. There's some holiday parties going on this weekend, so I'm excited. I always love an excuse to like wear a cute outfit, dress up, and hang out with good people. Also, there has just been a lot going on since the last time I've been sitting in this chair, if you can believe it or not. That was only like a week and a half ago. A lot has happened actually over my Thanksgiving. So the last time that I was sitting here, I was super excited about being able to actually enjoy Blackout Wednesday and Thanksgiving, and sometimes expectations can really just bite you in the asshole, because expectations obviously can lead to a lot of disappointment, because when you have high expectations and then they're not even close to being met, in fact, they couldn't be further from being met, I cried a lot. I actually cried at the bar. I was like trying to hold my tears. I was like, God, nobody look at me cry, but I just need this margarita and this plate of French fries right now. Okay, I'll get into the story here in a little bit. But anyways, before we get there, I want to take a moment because in the midst of everything happening, there's also been some cool things happening and some really wonderful things happening. So I don't want to overlook those and not recognize those. So I'm going to start with that. All right, let's start on a good note, we're going to start with the fact that Spotify Wrapped dropped this week, and it's always a fun time. I know that a lot of people make fun of it, and they're like, it's so lame, everybody's posting it. I personally love to see it. I think it tells me about you. It helps me relate to some people. Like, I think it's fun, and also, like, fuck you. If you post pictures of your baby, and you're coming at somebody about posting their Spotify Wrapped, just know I'm judging you because you think we want to see pictures of your baby all the time. Listen, one or two are here. We don't think your baby is as cute as you think your baby is, okay? Just like you probably don't think my cats are as cute as I think my cats are, although pets are a lot cuter than humans, okay? But yeah, so it's that kind of mentality. It's your baby. You think it's the fucking bee's knees. Well, we think our Spotify Wrapped is the fucking bee's knees. Look at us, okay? So anyway, just wanted to shout out anybody who enjoys posting that. If anybody is on the other side roasting, I'm here for you. I support you, and I see you. And I want to thank people for reaching out. It's really just made my entire week, in my entire year, to have people reach out and share that I was a part of their Spotify Wrapped in their podcast, whether it's on the list in some degree, or at the top of the list. I think that's really cool. You know, I have somebody who listens, shout out Kat, who reached out and just said that my podcast has brought her a lot of joy this year and asked if she could send me a Christmas card. Like, little things like that really go so far. Because listen, do I think that I have thousands of listeners out there? No, I'm very realistic. I have data. I understand who's listening. I can see. And it just means so much because what I'm going to be talking about today really, it goes along with this theme of support and how important it is and how necessary it is in moments where you're doubting yourself or you're feeling vulnerable or you're feeling putting yourself out there, or even if it's not in this regard, right? Like, even if it's not publicly on the internet and through a podcast, putting yourself out there, taking any sort of risk is always difficult, especially if you have anyone in your corner who isn't fully supporting you. Because I talked about this a little bit on the last episode, like, we doubt ourselves, right? So like being confident ourselves is already so hard. And so when you're having those moments of doubt, or maybe things aren't going well, or, you know, you're not feeling inspired or whatever that is, it's so important to have people like the people who reach out to you to say, hey, this made me laugh, or hey, like, your videos are funny, or hey, like, I really related to what you said and thank you for sharing about your anxiety. Like, whatever it is, like, recognition goes so far. And, you know, not just in stuff like this, you know, just like on the daily, like, if you recognize something, like, compliment people more, man. Like, people deserve to be affirmed and to hear reassurance and stuff, because I guarantee they're probably not getting it enough from themselves or from the immediate people in their lives. So like, even if you see a stranger and you have something nice to say to them, like, fucking say it, man. Just say it to the person, because you have no idea what kind of impact that little thing that took you 10 seconds to say or do could have on their day, their week, their fucking entire life. Like, think of the things that you remember people saying, doing, etc. Like, there are moments in my life that I know where it's like, this person probably has no idea that little thing they said to me has stuck with me for the rest of my life. I literally have a tattoo on my arm. I was talking about this yesterday. The tattoo on my arm says, the only way out is through. And where that comes from, it's like become kind of a mantra in my life of getting through hard things when I've been on hikes, like, but it's literally just about life too, right? Like, the only way out is through. And so it helps me rebalance myself when I'm feeling chaotic, or I'm feeling anxiety, stress, or overwhelm. Like, anything that I'm feeling, if I just say that to myself, the only way out is through, it's a grounding sentence for me. And where it came from, though, was from the first time that I went backpacking. So I was talking about this story. I get off on tangents, so we're just going to roll with it. Here we go. Where this came from was, I had gone backpacking for the first time. So I had never even been hiking in my life. Like, not really. You know, I'd done like little trails here and there, but nothing significant. You know, I'm talking about like trails in Alabama, foothills. Okay. So I was dating a guy. It was the guy that I actually moved down here for at the time. And he had previously really been into hiking, backpacking, had lived by the Tetons in Wyoming. He and some friends for like a season. And so had gotten really familiar with all that kind of stuff, outdoorsy stuff. So he and his friend had been talking about wanting to do a hike in Banff. And I was like, well, I want to fucking go. That sounds like it's beautiful. Look at it. And so he was like, yeah, you're fit enough. I was in very good shape. I've always, I work out. I work in fitness, etc. So he was like, yeah, you're in good enough shape. Okay, so I was like, yeah, I'll go backpacking for 6 days in the back country of Banff, Canada. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into because, yeah, was I in good enough shape? Absolutely. That's not the problem. It was more so like hiking shape and regular shape is different. And like just the conditions mentally, physically, all of that is like, you can't prepare for that if you've never done it. Like I had no idea what to expect. And, we're spending the night out in the wilderness. Like I'm carrying everything, like from like I had never packed for a trip where like you have to think about what you're packing has to in your suitcase is fitting in your pack, and like it has to be methodical of how you're packing it in for the first time. So it's just like a lot of planning, a lot of things. Anyway, so went on this backpacking trip to Banff. It was incredible, but it was also one of the hardest things that I've ever done because also it was mentally just so difficult because there was a lot of scary things that I had to do and get over that I was just like not prepared for. So it was like day 2 or 3 in, and my feet were just fucked. My toenails had lifted. I mean, we were crossing these like big rivers and it was insane. But it was fucking like I just remember walking across this like part of the mountain, and there's actually a video of me doing it. He filmed me because I was so fucking scared. And his friend was behind me. Shout out Gorman, if you ever listen to this. He was behind me, like, encouraging me because I was like, if I fucking slip right here, like, I'm just gonna slide down and off this mountain. Like, that's not gonna be a good situation. I was so fucking terrified. So we were, like, 3 days into this, and I was just exhausted, right? Like, having a good time, but also just exhausted. And this was also at a time when my brother-in-law had passed away literally like almost a month to the date prior to us going on this trip. So it was also very emotional for me because I'm not a religious person at all. I consider myself to be agnostic, I guess, because I don't want to say that I can't definitively say that there is or isn't anything out there. Like I've definitely had moments in my life, and there were moments when I was out there that I felt a presence of some sort, but I don't know if that's because it feels so great. I don't know, and I won't ever know until I die. And then who even knows? Like, I don't know that I believe in like a spiritual world. I think that when we die, we die. But again, like I've also had these other moments, like the time when I moved to New York City, and I've told that story before, where I was like in my car, like homeless, and a friend called and was like, do you have a place to live? So when I was out there, I had these moments of like, man, I really felt like something was helping me, protect me. And I was like, it like made me feel like my brother-in-law was watching over me a little bit. So this trip was like very emotional for me, and I just fucking broke down. Honestly, I like lost my shit. He wasn't being very nice to me, and very understanding of why I was grieving as hard as I was, because it was my brother-in-law, and he was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't know. Just, it was not a good situation. I knew that our breakup was coming, and we broke up not too long after this trip. And so I just broke down one day. My toenails had lifted. I was exhausted. It was fucking pouring rain. We like keep going in between these pockets of like being cold, because when you're up in the altitude, it's freezing. But then like when you come down, it's not. Like, I was just tired, and I just like had this moment where like I broke down, and I was just like, I don't want to go. Like, I just want to stop. And he was frustrated with me, like really frustrated with me. We got into a fight, and he was like, well, the only way out is through. Like, what the fuck are you going to do? What, you going to sit like, and I was just like, you're right. The only way out is through. The only way out of this situation right now and how I'm feeling is to keep moving forward and to keep pushing forward, because the only way out is through. I'm literally in the middle of nowhere. We've seen 2 humans in the last 4 days. Like, I gotta keep going. Like, I literally have no other option but to get my shit together and keep going. And that moment, that sentence has stuck with me since that day. That was in 2017. We're going into 2026. That's almost 10 years. And so, yeah, going back now, I got off on that little tangent. It's just like, acknowledge people, man. Acknowledge little things, or just like, also on the other spectrum of that, and this is a good segue. Holy shit. Thank you, brain. I love when it works out like this. Be careful what you say to people when you're upset, because those things stick too. And those things are really hard to get over. And over time, it becomes nearly impossible to get over the hump and to brush it under the rug and to feel like, oh, well, haha, it's just the way you are. Because at some point, those things that you say to people when you're upset become the things that they repeat to themselves when they're feeling down. They remember those things, like especially somebody like me, right? Like I have talked about it over and over. I have anxiety. I overthink a lot. And so the things that people say to me really stick with me, positive and negative. And typically speaking, as human beings, we hold on to the negative far more than we hold on to the positive. Like if you ever ask anybody, what are your greatest qualities? Or like, what are your greatest strengths? What are your greatest weaknesses? People are always able to identify their weaknesses far faster and far greater than they are their strengths, because we acknowledge failure more than we acknowledge little successes and little wins. Man, that bong rip earlier just fucking got my throat. But so segueing into talking about navigating friendship breakups in adulthood, or even just in general. I mean, I don't know anybody who's not in adulthood who's would be navigating this, who would be listening to this, but navigating friendship breakups. How to know when it's time to move on from friends. And a breakup doesn't always have to be this like dirty, ugly thing. It can be sometimes, for sure. But sometimes it can also be a quiet removal. You can quietly remove yourself from any situation, relationship, job, whatever that is. But here specifically talking about friendships, you can quietly remove yourself from that. And how to navigate when you know it's time to remove yourself from certain relationships and rooms is, if you have the feeling that you can't share your failures, like something that you fucked up, because you're afraid of what they'll say, how they'll react, how they'll judge you. If you can't share something that you're excited about because you feel like they might think it's stupid, or they might make fun of you, or like roast you about it as a joke when it's actually kind of hurtful. Also, like if your friends make you cry. I get that if you get into a fight here and there or whatever, like that's, you're going to have tears sometimes, but like if you can think consistently in moments where you're like, you've had to say that hurt my feelings, and it causes you, because like, listen, and I get it, I'm a sensitive person, so I well up a little bit more. If somebody raises their voice at me, like I get really sensitive. I do not enjoy people's voices being raised at me. It really like shuts me down. So if you feel like you have to ask someone to not yell at you, or to not say things like that hurt your feelings, and that's a consistent pattern, I think it's quite all right to say, I think that I've outgrown this friendship and I no longer want to be in this room. And something that I want to talk about is the closure conversation, because I think that there is a misconception, especially with women, that closure is necessary. You hear it a lot in heterosexual relationships in a lot of just like romantic relationships, of the need for closure. Closure's kind of bullshit. There's not really, like, it's not like you're going to have this magical conversation and you're going to walk away and be like, great. Now, do I think that there can be healthy closure conversations when you're having like a healthy breakup with somebody and you're both kind of coming to the point where you're just like, we need to talk, and you can say what it is that you need to say, Yes, I do believe that can be a very mature and good thing to do if the situation is correct and right, and if it feels right for both parties. When I think closure is bullshit is when you're providing closure or seeking closure not for yourself but for the other person. And this is kind of, honestly, like I had to work through this conversation with someone because I've been a bit stuck in this, and I definitely get stuck in this in relationships, friendships of I tend to cater to the other person in what they need from the situation instead of what I need in the situation. And that's in a positive and in a negative light. Like through positive and negative things, that is just something that I do. I really do kind of cater to the other person, or in some cases just like brush things off because it is better for them. So in some cases that's good, and in some cases that's bad. And in a closure case, that is what I would consider bad. You don't owe somebody else closure. If you feel like you need closure, like that the conversation is going to be helpful for you and that you feel like the conversation can be productive on both ends, then sure, I think potentially seeking that out can be healthy. But if you're seeking closure just from like, well, we've been friends for X amount of years, 10 plus years, whatever it is, in this case, it's about that. And you're just feeling obligated because of the time, because of what this person has meant to you, maybe what they've done to support you in a lot of times, because in any friendship, when you get to the place of breaking up, it's oftentimes, it's not because you're like, oh, well, they're just a fucking horrible person, like sometimes it's just you've outgrown each other and you no longer are aligned on the paths of your life. And then sometimes, it can be a blowout, but in some cases, you just move on, it's just time to go separate ways. Like, I think a good measure too is something to think about, especially whenever you get older, because friendships, whenever you get older, take a lot more energy in some ways to work, right? So a lot of times you don't end up in the same cities. One of my closest friends who I've had for the longest time in my life, we haven't lived in the same place since college, so like, do we talk all the time? No, but like we do make an effort to, Instagram connect and stuff like that. And when we can see each other, she's also the person who I'm like, if there's like a random adventure, I'm like, hey, you want to get tickets and do this? She's like, I'm always down. So like, I'm like, cool, let's book flights. It's those friendships too, where it's just like you can go years without actually physically seeing each other. And then the moment you see each other, you just pick up right where you left off. Like, and also you're like, I also know that if I were like, I need you to come fucking be with me, they would absolutely be there as long as they, for some weird reason, couldn't. Those are those kind of friends. And then in adult life too, like people's lives just change. Like people go through different seasons, people get married, people have kids, and it's just like, it becomes a little bit more effort, a little bit more scheduled, a little bit more spread out, a little bit more things like that, where it's like, you're not in constant contact. Like that just, some friendships work like that, but I don't have any that I talk to every single day. I would say weekly, sure. But again, like if I didn't live here, I'm sure that would, I have friends where like when they lived here, we talked frequently. And then when they move away, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But like, again, when we do talk, we pick right back up where we left off, or like if we see each other. But I think like a good measure of friendship too is like, would I get on a plane to go visit that person? Like just because I miss seeing them. And if you don't feel that way, then I feel like that's no longer like, they become like kind of like a friend of the past, so, or just like if you think about that, if you're like, okay, well, if this person moved, would I ever like go see them? And if the answer is no, then I think you have your answer, right? So, okay, so talking about the closure conversation, again, I've been kind of working through this and going back to this. So you don't owe this person, people, whatever it is, a conversation if you don't feel like it is in your best interest. If you feel like you are doing it for the other party's best interest because, again, like you feel like you owe it to them, then I say don't have the conversation until you feel like it's more for you. Because, again, like I'm kind of stuck in a situation where I'm envisioning the conversation kind of putting me back in the same situation that I ended up in, feeling just like I don't want to be treated this way. I don't want to be ostracized in this way. Like I don't want to feel like I can't share what I'm excited about without, like, it just feels like I'm being talked about in rooms that I'm not present in, and that's not okay. I'm not okay with that. That's not a friend. Like I have other groups of friends where that is not even an issue. And like this is something that I want to talk about. I want to talk about slut shaming for a second, because here's what I want to say to you ladies. If you have anyone in your life who is using your sex life, the way you talk about sex, whatever it is, as a means to roast you, make fun of you, dig at you, that is not a girl's girl, and that is not your friend. Because I don't care if you have slept with 200 people. Okay, I actually had a girlfriend of mine in college who was very promiscuous. Had slept with more people than I've like ever known anybody to sleep with. And I'm just like, cool, that's not for me, but I would never, ever, ever think to be like in the middle of a conversation and like throw out how she sleeps with a lot of people as like a joke. That's not funny. And that's like not girl's girl behavior. That's derogatory behavior. Like, don't call yourself a girl's girl and be like, yeah, women this. If you're slut shaming women and like using their sexual details, just maybe just because you're into different things, that is not a reason for you to bring up anything about that. And if anybody is doing that to you, leave that room immediately. Those are not your people. That is not your person. And that is like detrimental to any woman to be around. Because why is that? Why do you care what I do? Like, seriously, outside of you caring about my health and safety, of just being like, cool, as long as you're being safe about it, or like getting tested, or like whatever it is, like be concerned about that, but don't use it as a dig. Don't use it as a joke. It's not funny. I'm going to stop there because it gets me enraged. But yeah, if you have anybody in your life who's doing that, like, and women, why are you doing that? Why do you, this is like, I've talked about this before, like women are the problem. When it comes to slut shaming and it comes to slut talk, like whenever you think about it, like women, we talk about, oh, we don't want to be considered bitches and sluts and whores. Well, then stop calling other women bitches, sluts, and whores. It's us. It's you. If this is you, if you're using a woman as anything to do with like her sexual life or anything like that, you're calling anybody a slut, whore, whatever that is, you're the problem. This is why, like, even when you think about like the Monica Lewinsky scandal, okay? I think it's just such an interesting how the women are the ones who ostracize her far more than the men. Sure, do men make jokes about like, you know, her like giving head or whatever? It's the women though. The women are the ones who fucking tore her reputation apart. Whore, house whore, like home wrecker, like all this kind of stuff. Also, like when you think about any time like a man cheats, who do the people go after? Who does the woman go after? It's usually the woman first. It takes a mature woman to realize that it's the man, not the woman, that the woman doesn't have any sort of loyalty or obligation to you. The woman's not in a relationship to you. Yeah, maybe she knows, maybe she didn't know. Why is it the woman's fault? It's your partner's fault. Your partner is the cheater. It's not the woman. Who cares if Monica was sucking his dick? He was using her as like his political leverage to some degree of like, okay, well, I can get you to where you need, like, how you don't even know the fucking situation and you're slut shaming somebody that you don't even fucking know. I experienced this whenever I was in high school. I've talked about it on a previous episode. Women are the problem. If this is you, I don't like, why are you this way? You need to do some inward thinking. What is it about? Are you jealous? Were you taught that like sex is bad? Because sex is normal. Sex is natural. And like, just because somebody is comfortable talking about sex doesn't mean that they're just out there having a bunch of sex. Like for me, I don't go have random sex. I've had a one night stand, technically 2 times if you consider the fact that like we did only sleep together one time, but it was like, I mean, it was like a wedding, okay? But like other than that, I had a one night stand one other time. Like I've slept with a random person one other time, right? Like it's not like I'm just racking them up over here, but just because I'm comfortable talking about sex, I don't mind. Why is this? I'm considered a whore. Do some inward thinking. And if you are slut shaming anyone, you are not a girl's girl. And if you say that you're a girl's girl and you are ever calling anybody a slut or a whore, look in the mirror, sister. You need to do some work. Okay, so I'm not going to go into too much detail again, just because discernment, I do believe, is important because, again, these are real people in my life. But yeah, I'll give you just kind of the gist of what happened because it is my podcast and I do overshare. So Here we go. So the last time I was on here, I told you about how I was excited to go to have Blackout Wednesday and then enjoy Thanksgiving. Well, on that Wednesday night, there were just some comments that were made that just really didn't sit right with me. And here lately, especially in this past year, since I've really started kind of shedding things that don't align with where I want my life to go or how I want my life to feel, aka like my job. I talked a lot about this on the last episode. That's what a lot of this year has been, is like getting those relationships, those environments and that out of my life so that like that energy is gone, and that the energy that I want is like what I am cultivating and is supportive of how I want my life to grow and the things where I want to go. And so I've just really been paying attention, especially here lately, of things people have said or how people have shown up or not shown up. Also, this kind of started like a couple years ago whenever I was in the hospital. That's like where a lot of this kind of started coming from, where I was like, it's very interesting whenever you're in a really deep, dark place and like you're going through something like that, like who shows up and who really just does not. So over this past year, I've just really kind of been paying attention to how I've been feeling in moments and what environments feel good and what environments don't. And on Wednesday, the night before Thanksgiving, there were just a couple of comments to me, and it kind of started like about 2 weeks before that, where I'd had a conversation with a friend, a person who was a friend, and they were just not supportive. It kind of is what sparked a lot of what I was talking about on my last episode, how it's not too late, and removing yourself from any rooms or from any ideas that put that idea in your head that like, oh, your life is expiring. Just because their life, they can't see the picture that you see doesn't mean that you can't see the picture. Like, just because they have a different life and a different outlook, and that's okay, doesn't mean that you have to accept that that's what all they can see is all you can see. And so there's just been some comments. And again, like I have been the topic of some jokes in this group amongst specifically two people. And it's just not okay with me anymore. Like, I don't support people making fun of me for starting a podcast. I don't support people making fun of me for what I post on the internet. And if it's like, if that's how you feel, if that's truly how you feel, if you're like, oh, well, I don't like it, I don't get it, then you don't like me, because I'm not anything other than myself. And if you don't like it, then you don't like me. So then why am I going to continue in this relationship to be like, cool, well, this is what I'm doing, and you're not supportive of it. In fact, you make fun of me when I'm not around and in front of my face in a joking, and then try to play it off as like, oh, I'm just joking. I think the most validating part, though, is that people on the outside of the situation have all said, yeah, I could see it. I could see why you wouldn't want to be friends with them anymore. They can be really harsh. And yeah, that is a really good word to use. They can be really harsh, especially if I try to stand up for myself. And so that is something that if you're feeling that, if you're like, if I feel like I can't stand up for myself to my friend without them trying to shut me down or double down or say things that are very pointed and spiteful because it's their defense mechanism, then you should leave. Like, no one deserves to be treated like that in a friendship, a relationship. Like, somebody who can't handle you having a conversation about how they're coming off to you and they just double down. No. That person really needs to do some emotional work, and that's not your responsibility. And you don't have to keep explaining why it hurts your feelings and why you're not okay with that type of response. You can just leave the room. You can just leave the room. Here's your permission. You can just leave the room. So over the past year, there've just been an elevated amount of comments and jokes and things like that, and me brushing under the rug out of placating and not wanting to escalate the situation, and really brushing it off and like, oh, well, that's just how they are. well, I'm not okay with it anymore. Like I just reached my breaking point. And so it was a few weeks ago, we were having a conversation and they just said something to me that just really rubbed me the wrong way about how like they just basically didn't believe in me. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, from that conversation forward, I did not feel safe to share my goals, dreams, anything, because here's the thing. Even if it doesn't work out in the way that I'd hope, dream, whatever, I still win. I still win and you still win. Like if you go after, I loved that somebody watched my a clip of that I did of my podcast and then sent me a DM of another video that was just like talking about this specifically, that if you go after what it is that you love, that you care about, that brings you joy, and it doesn't reach the outcome maybe that you like, it doesn't matter. The outcome is you win because you still did it. You still went after it. You don't have to wonder. You got the joy from it. You got the experience. You did the thing, so it's like if somebody can't see that and be happy and be like, cool, like then that's not your friend. And so we had this conversation where it's just like, man, like I don't feel safe to share things I'm excited about with you anymore because I'm getting the impression that like you kind of think it's stupid. And I just really walked away from that being like, I don't know how I feel about this anymore, this relationship. And then on that Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, there were just a couple more comments that were made that I was just like, I literally left and ended up going off and doing my own thing. I went to a bar by myself. That's where I was like tearing up at the bar. I was like, God, please don't let anybody actually see me cry here. Cause they were just like welling up tears. Like I would just like go through this moment of like being okay. And then like thinking about it and like then not being okay. So yeah. So then I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk home. A walk usually makes me feel good. And it did. I, glad that I did that. So I walked home from the bar. Then the next day I had Thanksgiving, and in front of just a bunch of people, I became kind of the butt of a joke and the butt of conversation again, and just like little snide remarks like all day long where I was just like, I can't fucking handle this anymore, and I'm not about to get into a fight. I'm literally just gonna leave the fucking room. So that's exactly what I did. I went outside, I smoked a joint so that I could calm the fuck down, cried for a little bit, then I collected myself in the bathroom and I got my shit and I fucking left. And over the course of the past week, I've been struggling with what I was just talking about earlier, is the closure of, do I owe it to this person, to these people, these two individuals, to give them a closure conversation? And I've just arrived at no, I don't, because I don't foresee that working out well. I don't foresee me showing up to that conversation and walking away without more cruelty being thrown at me in a way. And I'm not saying that it's even necessarily intentional. I think it's kind of like a defense mechanism. I think it's like emotions are like not easy for them to process. I don't know. And so they're just mean. But I'm not okay with people being mean to me. And like, that's another thing that I want to talk about, is this whole mentality of, I'm sorry, Drake, but I disagree. No new friends is lame. LAME. No new friends mentality is fucking lame. And here's why. Because that kind of mentality, and that's honestly like kind of what these two friends have in common, is a no new friends mentality. Like they kind of close themselves into these groups, and it's like not a whole lot of like branching out into new things and new spaces and things like that. And so, whereas like I have always been, but I think like by nature, I've kind of had to be this way because we moved around a lot whenever I was young. I was born in California. We lived there for a couple of years, and then my dad's job transferred him and our family to Philadelphia. We lived there for a couple of years, and then we moved to Atlanta, and then we kind of moved around Georgia a good bit. Like we were kind of bebopping around. I went to the same elementary school and same middle school all in one, but then I went to 3 different high schools. And then from there, like I've just moved around a good bit, so I think that I've always just kind of had to make different groups of friends. But even in middle school and in high school, like I just always had multiple groups of friends. And I think that that is such a good thing to do. And so that is something that I'm going to encourage you in, is like, especially in adulthood, making friends in adulthood can be hard, because I talked about this last time, that like everybody's kind of settled into their lives or into their friend groups and into their things. People are getting married, but like I think that it's just so important to put yourself in environments with people who are on the same page as you with where you are in life. Like this past year, I have really been more intentional of putting myself in other environments with other people in other communities so that I also have other relationships. Like, I have a wonderful group of girlfriends. Actually, like through one of my really good, close best friends, I've met this other group of wonderful, amazing women. And that's kind of what sparked me even having these thoughts of like, man, I just really am seeing this, like this stark difference. It's like such a polar opposite in how I feel and how I'm supported with the stories that I share around this group of women versus how I'm received and then supported or not supported by this group here. And it's like polar opposite. Like I remember sharing my story about my little rendezvous weekend that I had a few weeks ago with this group of girls that I was at like this baby shower with because it happened that morning. And so like they were like, oh, we're so excited for you. Like I was painting my toenails over there. So funny. They were like, fuck yes, we can't wait to hear about it. Like, go girl, like blah, blah, blah. And then I walk into Friendsgiving with that group of girls the Monday of Thanksgiving week. And one of the girls walks up to me and she was like, can't wait to hear about your story. Also, I have a great fuck story for you that I'm so excited to tell you about. And I was like, hell yes. Like this is the kind of support, like people who are actually like, tell me all about it, sis, like blah, blah, blah. Versus like when I go tell my other friend, they're like, oh, well, don't tell her because she'll like judge you. She'll like, and I'm like, oh, well, that's shitty. That's literally the response I got when I was like, okay, so like this is this. She's like, well, don't tell her. She'll judge you. And I'm like, you're also, I think other people, are you judging me? Anyway, so it's just like what a stark difference it is to be in the room where you feel supported amongst other women and to be in a room where you don't feel supported amongst women. And so that's something that's just been opening my eyes. And so I've been putting myself in these rooms with women who I have things in common. They're, you know, some of them are in relationships and married or whatever, but some of them are single and, you know, around my age. And it's just, so it's been good. Like continue to put yourself in, seek out environments, new relationships, friendships. Like the no new friends mentality is fucking dead. It's lame. It's stupid because again, like I feel so lucky to be like, yeah, I just ended a relationship with two people who have been in my life for a decade of my life. They've been there for me. And, you know, I'm not going to say that they haven't shown up for me in those seasons. They absolutely have. But that season is tiresome now, or is that season is gone now. And I'm just so grateful that I have the mentality and I've had the mentality that like I'm going to continue and intentionally, especially this year, develop these relationships. Maybe, you know, that's the universe being like, okay, bitch, we're about to shed some shit. And like, you've been doing the work of like creating the new and staying open. And this is the reward of like these really supportive, nurturing relationships. But yeah, so continue to put yourself in rooms where people inspire you and to leave the ones that don't. No new friends is lame. All right, we're going to wrap it up here shortly. But gonna come up with some more structure in 2026. That's what we're going to go for, is more structure. We're shedding the old, we're bringing in the new, which for me is going to be more structure with this. Okay, so this past year I really kind of not settled into, but I definitely used relying on inspiration to drive the doing. And this upcoming year, I'm not going to rely on that, because I think something that I can use as a transferable skill and something that I've learned as a businesswoman and being in business and managing businesses is that like strategy is everything. And so if you can have a strategy where you want things to go, then you can work backwards from it. And so, but it also takes consistent commitment, and you're not always going to feel like doing it. Like if you are always just waiting on the right time, the motivation, the inspiration, I'm going to miss out on things, right? And I'm going to miss out on moving the ball forward in the direction that I want it to go. So more structure is definitely coming. I'm excited. I think some of this shedding of the friendship thing has also just like opened my eyes of like, okay, here's the direction you really want to go, and you have these people who are in your corner supporting you, who believe in you. So like, let's fucking go, and let's do it with intention, with more structure. So what that means for you as a listener, as a watcher, as the audience, is I want to hear from you. I really would love, so what that means too for the show is that I'm going to be outlining themes, topics, because a lot of what I talk about is just kind of inspired by what's going on in my current life, things I've been through. I want to always interweave my real life and keep it very real to you and to that and to me. But I do want to also center it around like specific topics and talk about certain things. So what I am going to bring into that structure is to like really sit down and kind of map out certain things around certain times of the year that I want to talk about, while also incorporating current events or current things that are going on in my life, things that are currently inspiring me, annoying me, whatever that is, whatever the fuck I feel like sharing. Okay. Still going to have a lot of that. Hopefully at some point a guest. Again, it has to be the right person. I don't want to bring anybody on that doesn't feel like the right person, people, whatever that is. So I do still want guests at some point, but for now, I would love to hear from you. Is there any sort of topic, conversation, anything that questions, like I really want this to be a little bit more interactive, and going in a direction that y'all want to hear. So if you have anything, please leave me a comment, slide into my DMs. I really enjoy hearing from you whenever you ask me questions and give me ideas and things. So it helps me create content that you want to hear too, where it's not just always about me. It's about you, okay? In all reality, I do this for you, but also for me. Look at Slimmy Jimmy, though. Like, this is just him always. I think I might actually take him home with me. I'm going home for Christmas. I'm driving home. I'm kind of excited. I want to take a little road trip, but he just always wants to be like this with me. Like, he literally, I'm pretty sure he would crawl inside my skin if he could. He loves me, and I love him. But yeah, I'm thinking I might have to take him with me because, look, he just wants to be with me, and I love him. Okay, y'all, that's all I got for you. Oh yeah, fuck ICE. They are officially here in New Orleans, and how does anybody feel good about themselves doing this? That's what I have to say. Fuck ICE. Okay, that's as far as I'm gonna go with that. But yeah. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias, okay? On the Instagrams, you can find me at Sharra Coley, SharraColey. That's the same thing on TikTok, Sharra Coley. I do have a podcast Instagram. I turned my fake Instagram account that I used to, my Finsta, if you will, that I used to use to just stalk people anonymously. I turned that into my podcast Instagram, so it's now legitimate. I no longer have a Finsta. So go follow me there. It's OVER Sharra, OVER. Oh, actually, it's the OVER Sharra Podcast. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think. I'll link it in the bio or in the fucking description, okay? Go follow me on the socials. Let me know what you think. Slide in. Give me some topics, some questions, anything that you would love to hear on the upcoming episodes. Expect much more content, much more structured and timely content to be coming your way in the new year. And until next time, I got some Christmas time stories coming up. A Waffle House Christmas is coming up. I can't wait to tell that story. I've literally been waiting until Christmas time to tell the story. So stay tuned, people. We got some exciting things on the way. All right, that's all I got for you now. So until next time, meow. Bye. We did it, Slimmy Jimmy. We did it. Thank you.